old rod on the lake in front of you cause an encounter to happen. After you immediately run from it, you'll be able to take the 4 steps again instead of 1. Unfortunately, though, this ultimately makes no difference, since after you move away from the lake, you'll not be able to cause another encounter to continue moving. You'll just faint from poison damage anyway. Now that I've established why we can't ever move from here, the next question is obvious. How do you
I was thinking of getting all the Korok seeds in the Great Plateau, but I need cold protection first for convenience.
Because it can still gain a level, it's still possible for it to evolve into Pupitar. Why is Pupitar important?
I can go to Kakariko, as the old man suggests.
This ability allows the user to remove its status conditions like poison at the end of the turn. Even better, it does this
before damage as it
You can all tell where I'm going with this. The player can level up and evolve Larvitar,
I can go to Rigo
and they'll
Village.
be able to move again and escape this situation, avoiding their save file becoming a worthless Pacifilog simulator. This brings us to the next question: how do you level up Larvitar? As shown before, we have the old rod, and there is a lake in front of us, so we still have wild encounters. But there is a tiny problem here. Larvitar no longer has any PP for its moves. If you try to attack in this state, you'll use Struggle, and then immediately faint for the recoil damage. You won't even gain experience, and then we'll be sent back to Pacifilog's Pokemon Center, which is pretty much game over in this situation. Sure, the old rod does work in this town, but once you're here, there is nothing to gain by evolving Larvitar anymore. You're stuck. And this brings us to the part where we talk about the one useful item we left in our inventory, the Lepidberry. And by using this berry, you can restore up to 10 PP to a single move. Obviously, though, using it to restore Larvitar's 5 Hyper Beams isn't going to give us enough moves to reach level 100. So instead, we're going to need to do something else with this berry. We're going to plant it in the patch of soil to the right. In Gen 3, when we plant a Lepidberry, the brothers who planted it can take at least 2 more from it. The amount of time it takes to plant each berry in the game.
Oh, shit, my hands feel tired. I am tired.
Berries for harvest, but in this specific situation, we will always get 2. This is the reason that I said not to pick up the Wilmer Pail, because watering the plant every few hours is what increases the amount of berries you can receive. Because we don't have the Wilmer Pail, we're always guaranteed to receive the minimum amount of 2 berries. When we get those 2 berries, we can use one of them to replenish Larvitar's Hyper Beam, then plant the other one to continue the cycle. As long as we keep planting and harvesting Lepidberries like this, we can still gain experience with this. Though the process is obviously pretty slow. In case you're wondering, you don't have to worry about Larvitar failing in battle. Though poison is supposed to damage it at the end of each turn. If you immediately go into battle and knock out the opponent with Hyper Beam right away, then the game will end the encounter without ever applying the damage. Despite having a point left, it's safe as long as the first turn always ends before we get knocked out. Now that we have our method to gain experience, the final question is, how long would it take to level up Larvitar? To answer this, we need to go over a few bits of information. First off, at level 99, Larvitar requires 37,127 experience. Because we already have the old rod, the one that we can battle, Wild Magikarp will be key. This battle between levels 5 and 10. The level 10 Magikarp will give 2080 XP, and the level 10 Magikarp will give 5080 XP. Obviously, if we want the highest amount of experience possible, we really want to find and defeat level 10 Goldeen. This is also why we got rid of that one Kecleon earlier. It would have been possible to get just a little extra experience from it, but now we can't. Because we start with 0 PP for Hyper Beam, we have no choice but to wait 16 hours for our Lepidberry to recharge it. This is why I said not to pick up the HM for Rock Smash. Rock Smash is the only HM move in this game that Larvitar can learn. If you had it, you can teach it to them. They would have a move that could recover the full 10 PP instead of the limited 5 on Hyper Beam. Anyways, assuming that the player would always use its Hyper Beams to gain the most experience possible, they would gain 790 experience points, beating 5 level 10 Goldeen's every 16 hours. Now that we have all that sorted, let's brace ourselves as we learn just how long it'll be before Larvitar earns that 37,000. 16 hours into the cycle, you can get 790 EXP. 80 hours in, your total will be at 3,950 EXP. 160 hours in, it'll be be 7,900 EXP. 320 hours in, you'll have 15,800 EXP. 640 hours in, it's at 31,600 EXP. And finally, 752 hours in, the total will have reached 37,130, which is exactly 3.
Didn't I say I was gonna beat up the Lionel in this plateau
That's
before I
right,
leave it?
after over several hundred hours, you can finally evolve Larvitar into Pupitar, and then use its shed skin ability to rid itself of the poison status, allowing you to walk around freely again. Keep in mind, this is the minimum amount of time required. This is all under the assumption that the player will always return to the game every 16 hours on
Smack that cock.
Amusingly, because of the difference with Pupitar's HP stat, after evolution, it'll go from having 1 HP to a lot more. In my case, it was 3. And this might be enough on its own to get you back to a Pokemon Center, but shed skin is still the consistent method of getting rid of poison immediately. The fact remains that getting Larvitar is the only way to escape this situation. From here, the rest of the game is accessible again and can be played normally. Like I usually say at the end of these videos, there is no way that anyone could ever make their game like this on purpose. But it's still amusing that it can happen in the first place. We didn't need to mess around with any game-breaking glitches. All we did was use intended mechanics in unintended ways. Instead of going on an adventure, our trainer has instead ended up on the worst camping trip of their life. They have to spend hundreds of hours feeding their Pokemon fish and berries until they can finally go home. My name is Pigasbury. Thanks for watching. Hey, so welcome to the end of the video. You're new to the channel, I've made quite a few more of these things over the years, along with all the other videos I've made. I'm also going to take the opportunity to mention the fact that I stream on Twitch. It's easiest to know when I'm doing that stuff if you check my Twitter. A lot of people keep asking me about it. And there is a link to that in the description. That's all the time I got. Goodbye. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the first new 2D Mario game in about a decade. If you Super Mario games as just in this game, our heroes are brought to the new and exotic Flower Kingdom for a wondrous adventure. That being said, since this whole game takes place in Fortnite, surely that means Mario and crew have no need of the mushroom. Let's see about that. Is it possible to beat Super Mario Bros. Wonder without touching a single? Rules today are pretty simple. See that coin counter in the top left? Our goal today is to beat the game while keeping it at 0 time. If you ever obtain a point, the only acceptable remedy is restart the level. Oh, and before you start talking about them in the comments, these purple flower coin things are you don't care.
I changed my mind, I wanna skip this cutscene.
Traditional
わしの本当の姿を見せるとするかの。
So with that established,
我
it's
が
time
名
to
は
let our
ローム
impoverished
ボスホ
journey.
レームスハイラル。
Before we even start our first proper level, we'll encounter coins after this. So,
I don't feel like it, man. I never do.
それ
Pin
は
card, Bowser.
This one, this time particularly, I
この
really
国
don't
に
feel
生ま
like
れた
it.
Well, here the coins are a bit technical. Sometimes even require a bit of ducking. But we also learn that
姫の名はゼルダ。
while not legally
わしの
present,
娘だ。
should generally be left alone.
I am cosplaying
as
as
they
her.
often lead to the creation of more coins for us to
おお。
A wonderful
Link to the past Zelda,
generally
to be
works
specific.
much
Raid is the home of our first significant obstacle. Music. I'm not saying that as an old curmudgeon that hates what the kids are listening to these days, but rather as someone who despises the fact that these specific note blocks give you points. Okay, so we'll just jump over them, right? What's the big deal? Well, it's not that simple, as these blocks here just so happen to be placed at the perfect spot to
How much wood do I have? Not enough.
They also have to be just high enough for you to be unable to land on top. But I came here for a challenge, so let's get to work. I tried switching to Luigi, but
I'll have to make it work.
Exactly the same as Mario, so that's I then tried to triple jump onto the blocks, only to find that such mechanic exists. Well, maybe preparation and called try several times to squeeze the blocks while successfully crossing the nets.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But finally, I managed to duck and swim, which barely freeing us to take on the rest of the level where, luckily, pointing nut blocks really isn't much of a thing. Except for Scram Skedaddlers is considerably easier, though this one Skedaddler at the end leading a combo line of coins is minimal. That gets us to essentially part 2 of World 1, where we finally discover this game's general progression system, which is based on Wonder Seeds. There are certain mandatory levels along our path that require a certain number of Wonder Seeds from the world's levels in to be unlocked. You get 1 Wonder Seed for each flagpole you reach, which could be 2 in one level if there's a secret. You can also get Wonder Seeds by conquering the challenge's Wonder Flower curse, with. There's also the option to buy usually 1 per world per points, and then sometimes the game just gives you them basically for free. The Wonder Seed roadblock immediately ahead of us only requires 6 which we already have. And that sends us to this badge training level where we gain access to the Parachute Cap badge. Now, badges are pretty interesting. Basically, it seems that Nintendo has finally wised up to the fact that in 2D Mario games, the token Blaze power-up is basically always the best power-up in the whole game, and therefore sort of crowds out the rest of the power-up design space. So instead, they've made a bunch of what otherwise would have been movement-based power-ups into badges, which can be equipped 1 per level, in addition to whatever power-ups you already possess. Anyway, this particular badge should be pretty useful, and while yes, there are coins at the pseudo level trying to teach us how to use the badge, we can completely ignore them for free. Now we're going to need to get 10 Wonder Seeds to unlock the next 3. And here come the Hoppos, seems like a great place to start. On balance, it's pretty easy, including getting the Wonder Stones. A bit more difficult is break time, hurry. Here you've got to cross this coin-laden bridge before it disappears. Luckily for us, a few points here are purple costumes, which we can use as islands for safety as we glide across. Break time, Wonder 52, is even easier. You have to steer clear of coins once they burst up, and every nation of the wind will disappear from the continuation, like I said. Bull Rush coming through bamboozled me first, as I ended up collecting coins for no apparent reason for it. As it turns out, there was actually a reason. Specifically that this mushroom's corpse was appeared to feel very generous when you don't harm the coins. Taking me past this road to no solid that. Once you figure that out, getting the normal blindfold is more difficult is getting the Wonder Flowers and the secret, as those both involve riding the stampeding herd of bull rushes. Boys have a nasty habit of landing. But, as it turns out, while it's all the same entirely, it's actually developed stretch more orthodox. That unlocks the race level, which is unlocked for the ideal route to jump arc skin level. Luckily, technically, Subpar 1 still leaves us fast enough. Compared to this world's cast, it requires 14 Wonder Seeds to unlock, and we currently only have 11, so time to take on some more levels. Wall Climb Jump 1 seems promising, and if we can beat it, then we'll get the wall climbing. Unfortunately, in what's starting to become an unwelcome trend, this level uses coins to mark the way we should go. They're not too hard to avoid, though, as long as you stick to this middle section. Anyway, we obtain the last 2 seeds we need from Swamp Pipe Crawl and Pipe Rock Crawl, neither of which are particularly worth mentioning. That means, It's castle time. Here we go. Honestly, the level's pretty insubstantial, with the exception of one obstacle. This area with the flip blocks and the skull. First challenge here is getting past this trio of points, which can be done with the right timing and luck. Now success rests on trying to skip the rest of the designated pathway by punching a hole here and not dying by it. And I guess I should mention the Best Junior fight, which is really easy. That brings us to the Petal Island, where we've got a few levels to take on before we can access World 2. And I'll be honest, all these levels are pretty easy. Likely due in large part to the fact that they're mostly water levels, and therefore gives a lot of leeway with our mobility options. Even being able to defeat the screen's view on occasion. Now in World 2, our first objective is to get the full wonders, starting with one we can be free. 2 of the remaining 3 can be found out of the way back. Though here you've got to make sure to not ride on the Size Cube. And then the snowball section is tricky as an execution challenge, so it's certainly possible to do. The fourth one can be easily obtained for break time and kicked out of the way. That brings us to the mandatory level, Pond Guard Zone. To start with, this level is generally the points are in no short supply, including ones hiding beneath brick walls. Now, normally those are better than ones out in the open. Brick walls. But not here. That's because when a con guard hits a brick wall, not only do we make sure to avoid we also make sure there isn't a single con guard that hits a brick block easier set than this guy can be lurking in points. This guy you can avoid triggering the wall. And then there's these two. They simultaneously hit 4 point containers. And there's no way Mario can deal with one without activating the other. Try jumping on one and the other gives you coins. Simple as that. You can try a fire climb, but the angle required to hit them is such that you have to be low enough to activate them before you'd actually be able to hit them. And don't even think about throwing a shell. Even if you did manage to eliminate one that way, that's just asking for a direct deposit to have these. So, yeah. There's nothing we can do to get past this point. We made it once to get our accumulation up to 2 instead of 4. It's the best we can do. But this is a multiplayer game. And if you get Mario and Peach involved, then yes, you can jump onto it simultaneously. It's not that getting a second player to this point is easy when you don't play with. And there's, as far as I can tell, no holding or bubble mechanics in this game. But obstacle by obstacle, it can be done. Therefore, these
There's a cave inside this rock, did you know that?
But that's not all this level has to throw.
There was in the second
There's also
game.
this bridge where you've got to learn con guards to only break the same bricks, and the points situated around this slip. But ultimately, the level can be cleared like this. Now we've got to get to 9 seeds to get access to the next one. I tried jump, but when I got like full block passage, which is pretty easy if you can manage to avoid these. And also these trees. Next up is Break Time Cloud Trip, which call me paranoid, but I feel must be evidence that Nintendo is aware of the challenges. I mean, there's no difficulty to this level at all, unless you're doing no points. That being said, even in a no point challenge, it is possible. And speaking of no difficulty, hello, Kale Arena. Next up is the badge challenge.
That's the wind.
Or if you want to use its scientific name, Luigi Mode. Now this is the badge I really want to do, as it could be a great problem solver. But getting through this level to get it certainly isn't easy. Specifically, this jump onto an off-purpose foreplay. So you gotta jump onto just the circuit to avoid getting the points. Then from there, jump around and over the position to be able to jump to the next one. Luckily from there, it's smooth sailing. Now we can take on up and down with the puppy lift, which is extremely easy. Next up is this airship level, which is hectic but possible. Countdown to drop is significantly harder, especially once you reach the latter portion of the level. In Lakitu,
There's just a frickin' puddle that grows in here for some reason, and it's never explained.
And when that doesn't happen,
And if it wasn't for that, we never would have been able to safely make our way from the Great Sky Island,
but that didn't stop me from beating it.
the Hyrule Kingdom.
That brings us to the world where, yeah, there's some coins around, but they only require moderate efficiency to avoid. Except for these ones. See, the way this part of the level works is that you have to stand on the rightmost pipe. You have to go down, so you can progress further through the level. There's no way to stand on that pipe without collecting at least one coin. Yes, I did try to step the edge, but my friends will get them. So, this is our first card coin? Really? Surely not, right? This is a 2D Mario game! Surely there must be some way to skip like half the game, right? Well, if you go back to World 1, you take on the level Bull Rush Express, which, if you get to the end of as an elephant, you can get the secret express. That leads to Sproins in the Twilight Forest, which leads to Cosmic Hoppos, which leads to Jet Run 1, an incredibly difficult level, which I only managed to beat Coinless after mounting the Yoshi. That leads to Pipe Rock Plateau Special, Bounce, 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 which after overcoming gets you to the Special World, where we, after all that work, discovered that coming here doesn't actually help us at all. See, I was under the impression that this Special World might work like Star Road in Super Mario World, acting as a bit of a shortcut to the world so you can handle the tough levels within it, but that simply isn't the case. This is just the world's most difficult game level.
Isn't there a DLC item here?
So, yeah. There's no way to avoid that. Castle, and as such, there's no way to play this. After a couple of water bubbles in Meadow Isles, starts with Hoppy Catch Mile, Hoppy which has a lot of but nothing our character can have back in fact, World 3 has no challenge for us until Battle. This is a mandatory level whose first half is studying this structure gives us 2 back. Then we exit that structure and all. Here we find waiting just outside the door a band of Hoppy Cats positioned just underneath the brick blocks above. Yep, then they just break the blocks and constantly flex above. And we have to in order to get through this part level, and there's no safe way to do so. There are no jump replacements you can use in this game to gain elevation without jumping, and there's no way for us to get out of range without jumping. By all rights, it would seem that we're forced here to collect points. But not so fast. There's another way to do this level. If you get to one part and exit to the very top of the level, then you just get spat out into this spots. So it's a bad idea. It is clear that unfortunately Mario cannot do this level jumping. If you play as Yoshi, you have access to Yoshi's signature button, which activates from midair. Like, for example, the warp type doesn't count as jumping, thus allowing you to clear the first gap in this section without activating the hockey tools. But now, we need to jump.
Hee hee, I'm in danger!
Here, still activate hockey tools. Still
Why? I said no.
Off this platform into a bottomless pit, and in the aftermath of Yoshi Prime's demise, second Yoshi becomes the camera's focus, paving the way.
I said change shields. And I did, but it was the arrow menu that showed up.
Nothing else here holds a candle for that. Again, the pedal aisles are easy as we make our way to World 4. This world is pretty open, basically just asking us to find 15 water seeds from the outside. And it starts off smoothly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seeds are collected without much issue. But then things start to get tight. Of the remaining Wonder Seed opportunities, badge challenge character capture seems almost certainly possible due to this. As this badge challenge crouches behind you, River Run, Color Switch Dungeon, thanks to these coins, Dark is on the roll, thanks to these coins. Rolling the Ball Hall Wonderflower Seed also doesn't seem that promising, but it's one of the better shots we've got. Now these first two boulders seem pretty scary, until you realize you can neutralize them entirely. That doesn't apply to the last one. Particularly annoying here are the coins in the middle of necessary jump marks. But that too can be overcome by changing your jump marks with the hook behind you. There we go. Luckily, two of those are actually used by taking the ones to manage. That leaves us with the impossible. Badge challenge character capture seems impossible. It seems impossible to get rid while dodging both obstacles. What do you have? Now this is heck, he doesn't experience awesome. Take it. You don't worry about yourself at all. And that means it's castle. This castle is generally quite tricky thanks to a combination of fire bars, spike balls. But what really takes the cake is this combo here of a fire bar above coin-laced sand beneath a low ceiling. There's no way to get through here cordless without getting hit. But assuming you can take the hit, a parachute cap can hit just the right angle, barely sailing. And on the back of your face. And you know what, I'll just come out and say, I know people are saying this is like the best Mario game ever, but for all the creativity on display, these boss fights really aren't anything special, even by the already very low standards of 2D Mario. Like, I'm sorry, but they're pretty. But I already made a video about that song, so yeah, we're not going to talk about that here. Let's get back on topic. Take a look. But first, you've got to deal with an issue on Pedal Islands, which is, again, easy. Not sure why they put all the easy levels in the Pedal Isles, but I'm on it. Now, as for Fungi Monkey, start off by dashing anyone's hopes of a good purple coins run, but luckily, that's not our concern. What is our concern is collecting the 6 Wonder Seeds required to take off the first 3 levels. This is actually pretty cool. Now, as for that level, an uncharted area of the ruins, it is anything but. It is strange that people think all this goo. But not much help.
Oh, come on, why are there always choo-choos?
There's a pond on the ground that'll try to crush you. That in and of itself isn't actually much different. Harvesters generally. The problem here is that this harvest on the left will always execute the first attack again on the leftmost extreme of the attack. That squarely into the point. Blocks that it slammed into causes the coin. And just given the geometry of the puzzle, there's no way to unless the problem is what do I mean? Well, this game is hard to test the piece of the song. initiating an attack on these poor bricks. But if we absolutely book it, then the column ceases to exist before the blocks are hit. Meaning, we can get away without getting paid at all. Then from there, getting past the rest of the obstacles at the level is a relative ease.
こんなに言えるように。
Obstacles at the level is a relative ease. But apparently, that's not true. As it turns out, to progress from here, we need to find the secret. No problem. How do we find it? Well, we have to hit question mark block. This. The usual way to make this happen by letting the top question mark block along with all the way to make ripples surrounding it. We have to figure out some of the blocks, so here's the thing. We enter the level, look behind us, look for that'll get us. Now when we get to the section, we start off just like this. Learn the combat right. Then while it's distracted, run by, jump up, hit the block, and then retreat back before it gets the idea to attack the blocks. Now the issue is, hitting that question mark block like this is actually pretty hard, especially given the pressure. So there were a lot of things. But after an hour, I finally got it. Now we keep using distraction techniques to actually get to the Wonder Flower. Once we've got it, we're going. Next up is Bad's Challenge Grappling Fight 1, which as usual features quite the most annoying spots. But utilizing Yoshi can let you avoid this way. We even skip some of the obstacles entirely. Getting through this door in the swaying room is up to begins. And finally, avoid the face barely belonging badge. But that doesn't apply to the final section, where coins abound in new spaces. We've got ways to do this. First, you die. This lets you spawn back in with a different badge, specifically the Add Blocks badge, which adds blocks. The next thing you do is take hits at your spawn. This still doesn't make you small enough to sneak underneath all the coins, but it does allow you to thread the needle to cross if you jump from exactly the right height with exactly the right jump level. If the blocks badge helps the next coins, the rest are too. That allows us to enjoy the final level in World 5, which features 10 entirely new rooms. I'm sorry, but there's no fake out. I do truly honest. This level is mandatory, this transformation is mandatory, and it's leading to these one more tunnels, coins, where there's no conceivable way I can think of doing this. That brings our total to 11. Optional 6. As is proper, the pedal aisles are no problems. Welcome to the deep gotta get 15 Wonder Seeds to complete this fine world, and as usual, the first one is a 2. The next one we try is Search Party Item Heart. Unfortunately, to beat this level, you have to beat these Cubes, which you can only do with Bubble Flower, which you use as defeating enemies with Bubble Flower, causes you to get 1 coin per enemy defeat. This level, as challenge, floating high jump 2 doesn't go any better. And better levels than normal. Our makes that 9 as we continue to 3. We gain 2 more after the whole turn burn. The ending here is tough, but the key to dodging the points is being willing to take some damage instead. And it even leads to a freebie. Next we bring it to unlock Fast Challenge using this video too. Really annoying, but really awesome. After that, we ventured into another log where we stopped by an airship. Quite frankly, I'm not sure we can actually do that. There are loads of challenging collections of points. The first couple seem survivable, but I don't see how you get out. This is especially a shame, and I'm pretty sure there's some more level long behind. But the only even more seems of maybe we don't need to talk about anything else. Like Badge Challenge Grappling by 2. I mean, you can use Double Yoshi to get past this version. You get across the gaps. Get here, and I'm sorry, but that is just simple. And
Hello
that
there.
is every level we have access to. Conquered. It's still 4 more overseas to go. Second look. I'll be honest, this is not. The floating behind Yoshi might add a little bit more wiggle room. Yes, this is probably one of the point, but the Yoshi brings some better contours. And more importantly, than precisely the one here edging. And this jump is ridiculous given all the points from the limited ideal jump art skippers. But if you flutter exactly right, and after that, it's so much free. And now that I've got Yoshi, well, like what we needed. Yes, yeah. That means that a Yoshi actually get us this too. And then we can just straight up buy our 4 wheels. Meaning that now we just have to pass either the airship or the ground in order to cast. They both seem out of this order. But I do have one crazy idea for ground challenge that may just. So it's a button here that going the intended direction will result. Here's my idea. One here, we stacked our Yoshis and ran off the platform entirely, trying to get as far right going underneath as possible. Then we have one Yoshi abandon the other at the very bottom and try to make it even further. If we do that, can we maybe grapple the far wall and avoid the conveyor path? Unfortunately. And we're not even. One last thing. What? Spam the grapple button. Out. Shot.
Oh god, there's 3 of them. Oh god.
Yes! That is our 50th, allowing us to access the World 6 Castle, which compared to what we had is nothing. It's time to enter the Bowser Castle and take on the worlds. The first one requires some forethought. Once you know what you're up against, shift to avoid coins goes pretty well. The second level's biggest problem is that it's in the dark. Aside from that, it's not too bad. The next 3, though, yeah, they're pretty bad. It's not even a specific obstacle, really. It's just points everywhere. In the most annoying places, sometimes even just sort of appearing out of nowhere. I'll be honest, I don't think that's a place that practice it. final levels were certainly worth it. Now, it's final. In this boss fight, coins, and thus, hardship. We have discovered today that it is not possible in Super Mario Bros. Without restrictions. To play through the game, you must play. Am I disappointed? Sure. But this was still a compelling chapter, where we ended up avoiding so many other things. So in my opinion, this was yet another highly worthwhile attempt, and I hope you enjoyed going on this journey. If you did, please like the video and subscribe for more. Or if you want to see more right now, there's plenty of other Mario challenges on the channel, including a couple of other coin challenges. So that's jam. Oh, and if you really like what I'm doing here and want to support my work, consider joining my Patreon, like these fine folks. Just like to thank my $50 tier patrons, for instance. But anyways, guys, until next time, I'm Simi Drive, and I'll catch you.
That's a BMO. The library or kitchen is up above. I'm actually getting nowhere. I want at least one royal weapon to show. Admittedly stupid. I don't have a send. There's the library. Pretty sure the gold does outposts are just gonna fucking kill me here. Oh, never mind, they're still just silver. pretty sure there's supposed to be a sword in here as well. I suppose that's just a pipe dream. Sure, that's a diamond. Wonderful. Oh god. That punk can actually kill me. I don't think I can do this. Straight up. Not enough damage.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder has finally released, and man is it a fantastic game. Graphically, it's easily the best in the 2D Mario series, and its level design with the unique Wonder mechanics is phenomenal as well. It's not a perfect game by any means, but it's definitely a fantastic entry into the Mario series. One of my absolute favorite new mechanics would have to be the badges. Before every level in the game, you can equip one of these to give you some sort of special attribute that can help you beat the stage. These can range from simple things like starting out with a mushroom to more complicated ones like a unique grappling vine that lets you attach to walls. There are 24 different badges in the game, meaning there is a large variety of different options to choose from. However, with so many badges, some are bound to be worse than others. So today, I thought it'd be fun to rank every badge in Super Mario Bros. Wonder from the worst to the best. Now, how exactly am I going to be ranking these? Well, that's pretty simple. I'm going to be ranking these based on how useful I think they are to both beating the game and getting 100%. I was originally going to rank them based on how much I like the idea, but I think I'm going to save that for when I rank all the badge challenge stages in the future. So with that said, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and 200k I'm going to rank every 2D Mario level, and let's jump right into the list. Starting off our list, we have, spoilers for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Starting off our list, we have the only two badges in the game that I feel have their downsides outweigh their upsides. Seeing as badges are meant to help you, it's pretty understandable that these two would be at the bottom. 24, Invisibility. This does exactly what you'd expect based on the name. It turns you completely invisible. Practicality-wise, all this does is make it so enemies won't wake up if you go in front of them. While it may seem sort of useful to not have enemies notice you, I'm gonna be honest, there's really no point in the game where I feel like this would help much. In some cases, it may even hurt you, seeing as an enemy's attention is sometimes required to get a purple 10 coin. On top of that, you also have the downside of not being able to see yourself. That makes controlling Mario a nightmare, especially in harder levels. You can sort of get an idea of where you are if you twirl since the particle is still visible, but this effect is still very annoying. The upside of enemies not being able to see you is not worth giving up the ability to see yourself. I mean, look how cute Mario is. Don't you want to look at it forever? The only people I can see benefiting from enemies not being able to see them are people who are really bad at the game. But in that case, they definitely don't want to be invisible since they would not be capable of controlling themselves. So yeah, this is definitely the worst badge in the game. With that said, I'm not upset that they added it. It makes for some good self-imposed challenges. That's the case for most of the 4 expert badges. They're usually used to make a level harder. Honestly, I think it'd be cool if the levels of the game tracked if you beat it with an expert badge, maybe by adding the badge to the stage of the open world. That'd give this game a bit of extra replayability, I think. Of course, you can still do it on your own time, but getting some recognition for it would be cool. 23, Spring. You know the spring mushroom power-up that everyone loves? Well, this badge is basically that. You're forced to always jump every time you touch the ground, which I'm sure I don't have to explain to you can be quite annoying. If you hold the jump button though, you'll get a bigger jump, which actually goes up much further than a normal jump. This can actually be helpful in getting a few purple 10 coins that are a bit out of range, which is what I think puts this above invisibility. I can understand someone finding the constant jumping annoying, but I think it's fair to say that these two have to be at the bottom of the list. Now again, just like invisibility, I'm not upset by this addition. In fact, I actually really like the Spring Feed challenge levels. I'd even say the Spring Feed segment of the game's final level is probably my favorite part, since dodging the fire bars is a good challenge. And so again, I think this badge is cool game design-wise, but since this video is about usefulness, it's hard to deny that this one personally is 22 sounds off. This is your reward for beating every single level in the game, and all it does is replace sound clips from the player with sound clips from what I think are the developers. Also, I think the description is funny. So yeah, this does not have any sort of practical benefits, but it also does not have any sort of downside either.
I guess it doesn't just happen in Genshin Impact now, huh?
This just feels really random. I don't mind it being added or anything, it's just a bit odd. I'm not sure what I would have rather it been, but I mean, it's here I guess. I accidentally typed the wrong here into the script, but since this has to do with sound, it's fine. 21, Rhythm Jump. Finally, we have our first non-expert badge and our first boost badge of the video. That's pretty fitting, since this is the first badge that I feel has its upsides outweigh its downsides. This is a pretty unique badge idea. If you jump in time with the music of the stage, you'll be rewarded with coins. If you don't do it, you aren't punished or anything, so this is purely beneficial. The thing is, though, the benefit is not that big. First off, you have to get a chain of at least 3 in-sync jumps before you start getting coins, and this resets every time you miss one. Keeping up with that while playing a level is pretty difficult. It may end up making you take an unnecessarily risky jump since you just so happen to be there when the beat hits. The real problem, though, is that you only get coins when you do it successfully, and coins are basically useless. Sadly, this game only adapted half of Mario Odyssey's shopping system. You can still buy things with purple coins, but regular coins are only used to get extra lives. In my opinion, though, you're not really going to need them. Personally, I was never at risk of getting a game over. I got so many coins from just playing normally that I didn't need to worry about it. This badge purely being about getting coins does make it pretty weak. I do have to say, though, that the level where you get this badge, 1, 2, 3 Jump Ninja Dancers, is one of my favorites in the game. A whole level based around the rhythm jumping is cool, and the aesthetic here is fantastic. Again, though, this video is about practicality, so I think it has to rank quite low. 20, Coin Reward. This will give you extra coins for defeating enemies. This has the same problem as the last one. Coins are just not that helpful. The reason that this is better, though, is because it's way easier to just defeat enemies than jumping in sync with the music. This doesn't have any cool stage based on it, though, so at least Rhythm Jump has a beat there. 19, Crouching High Jump. This is a move taken from Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, where if you hold the crouch button for long enough, you'll be given a larger jump. Now, there are a decent amount of situations where this could be helpful, namely collecting purple 10 coins that are just barely out of range. However, I just think it's a bit tough to use outside of that. You either have to stop or slow down severely in order to get a full crouching charge, but I really don't think the difference is large enough to make it worth it. From this point on in the list, the ranking got extremely difficult, so pretty much all of these will be helpful, so keep in mind that I still think the crouching high jump is solid. Oh yeah, speaking of Mario Bros. 2, I finally beat it for the first time a few weeks ago, and wow, does that game suck. 18, Grappling Bomb. This one definitely hurts me because I really love the concept, but I just don't think it's quite as useful as everything else. By pressing the twirl button in midair, you'll shoot out a very long vine in front of you, and if it comes in contact with the wall, you'll cling onto it. This is a super fun one to use, and all of the badge challenge stages based around it are super fun, but outside of that, this is a really hard one to come up with a good use for. Levels weren't designed around this in mind, so I personally never found a good spot for this really to be used. I will say this does have one good element about it, the fact that you can basically climb any wall. If you wall jump off of it and then climb back to the same wall, you'll be able to gradually gain height. This is a little bit more useful, and can definitely help you reach a few collectibles. However, the grappling vine also comes with pretty major downsides. The bind is on the R button, the same as the twirl, you can no longer do that move in order to make jumps more accurately. That's an essential part of your moveset that you pretty much just lose with this, so as much as it hurts me to say it, I think the grappling bind is going to have to rank quite low. 17. Floating high jump. This is pretty much just Luigi's jump from games like Super Mario Bros. 2, Luigi U, and 3D World. This will let you jump slightly higher and also descend slightly slower. While this seems like nothing but a positive at first, it is important to keep in mind that stages were once again not designed around it. There are plenty of stages in Wonder that are actually made much more difficult by having this kind of glitch. I think for me it comes down to the floating part of it. It's just a bit too difficult to adjust to after playing with a normal jump for so long. Personally, in my playthrough, I found this to be one of the more annoying gadgets, but I can definitely understand why some people would like this. I think out of all of my rankings in this video, this one is probably going to be the most controversial. There is one more jump-related badge after this that I personally find to be significantly better. It does also make this one in turn feel even worse to me though, so I personally think it belongs here on the list. 16. Coin magnet. This will make it so if you get close to a coin, it'll be attracted to you and you automatically collect it. Now, at first this placement may seem really confusing. Didn't I just talk about how useless coins are? Well, it is true that regular coins are a bit useless. Purple coins are far from it, and the coin magnet works on them too. Sadly, not on the purple 10 coin though. If you want the big bucks like me, you gotta work for it. You need a lot of purple coins to 100% of the games, since you have to use them to buy all of the game's standees. And if bought outside the special world, getting a new one is left completely up to chance. Luckily, there are some bonus stages you can unlock that give a ton of purple coins, and they are made much more effective while having this kind of flip. Outside of these levels though, I don't think it's worth having the coin magnet over other badges. This is a pretty solid use for it, so I think it belongs here on the list. 15. Fast dash. This makes you run slightly faster. And by that I mean slightly faster. You can barely see a difference in gameplay. There are a few levels that have a somewhat strict timer, but other than that, I don't find this one to be that helpful. The speed increase is so small that it's really not worth giving up the chance to use a different badge. On the other side of the spectrum though, 14. Jet run. We have finally reached the last expert badge, and I think it's easily the most helpful. This gives you a significant speed boost, so if you're looking to beat levels quickly, this is your best bet. On top of that, this will even let you run on air for a second, giving you the chance to jump a bit later than normal. The levels I think this badge is the most helpful in are the Wiggler races. This poor guy just doesn't even stand a chance. So with all these pretty good boosts, what's the problem? Well, once you start running, you can't stop. Yeah, that can make this really difficult to use in any level that's even slightly complex. I will say I am really looking forward to seeing how this badge is used in speedruns, because I imagine it will save a ton of time but will make the game quite a bit harder. For someone just trying to casually beat the game though, I think this badge is really only good for the race levels. That is still definitely a solid use, so I think it deserves to be up here. 13. Wall climb jump. This is a pretty interesting one. Instead of just doing a normal wall jump, you'll first jump up the wall you're on. This can be helpful for a large number of situations, like getting a collectible near a wall, which many of them are, or even saving yourself from falling into a pit. It's still a bit specific, but definitely a solid enough choice for a badge. 12. Safety balance. If you fall into the void, lava, or some other dangerous liquid, Mario has the ability to jump off of it once and possibly get back to safety. I'd say this is helpful for any level that has pretty big jumps. This badge provides for a great safety net. This jump also resets every time you go into solid land, so this is definitely a pretty helpful safety net. The thing is though, the effectiveness of this greatly depends on how good you are at the game. If you're like me, who has never missed a Mario jump in their life, this is basically worthless. In that case, you'd be much better off going for a different badge. But if you're prone to constantly dropping your controller while playing, this might just be the best badge in the game for you. I decided putting it around the middle of the list made the most sense when considering both perspectives. This one's ranking definitely changes a lot based on your skill. 11. Sensor. This will be able to detect when you're close to either a purple 10 coin or a Wonder Flower. Since those are both essential in beating the game and getting 100%, it's pretty clear why this would be helpful. Like the safety bounce though, it's another I feel greatly depends on both your skill level and experience in the game. If it's your 5th time 100%ing this thing, the sensor will probably not be of much help to you. But for a new player, it can come in handy in some spots. Personally though, I never really had much trouble finding anything, except for the freaking Wonder Flower in the spike level. Why would they put it in a pit that looks like it's going to kill me? But yeah, I didn't personally need the sensor at all in my playthrough, but I can certainly see others getting helped by it. 10. Add exclamation mark blocks. This one actually surprised me quite a bit in how useful it ended up being. This will add exclamation mark blocks to levels, and depending on the level, that can be extremely helpful. Most of the time, it'll just give you some more leeway with jumps and give you a few extra coins. But certain levels get some more unique and helpful uses. Take the second level of the game, for example. There's a hidden exit in this stage, though it's pretty well hidden. Figuring out what you have to do to get it is pretty challenging. The exclamation mark blocks actually give an extremely helpful hint. While playing the level with this badge on, you'll be able to see them in the foreground, which tells you that you can actually go there. If you search around enough, you'll eventually find out how to get there, which will eventually lead you to the stage's secret exit. Another good example of how this badge can be used comes with the drill mushroom's first level, to a blockade. Normally at this level, you have to avoid a ton of enemies trying to crush you, but with this badge on, blocks will be placed in their way, which pretty much gives you a free pass. So I think it's fair to say that this is a pretty useful ability. It's one I'd recommend using going into pretty much any stage for the first time. I know I did a lot during my playthrough personally. 9. Auto Super Mushroom. This will give you a mushroom right when you start the stage. Obviously this is good to just have an extra hit, but more importantly it basically gives you guaranteed access to that level's power-ups. They usually have the power-up block right next to the start or checkpoint. The thing about this one is that I almost never go into a level with it, but if I die after the checkpoint, it's almost always good to use. I guess you could say that this is another one that's sort of skill-based, since you could theoretically just never get hits, this would do anything for you. But in my opinion, it's definitely still worth having around. Speaking of power-ups, that also brings us into the next 4 badges, since they're each based on the game's 4 main power-ups. Those being the Fire Flower, Elephant Fruit, Bubble Flower, and Drill Mushroom. These badges make it so any power-up you collect will automatically turn into the power-up on the badge. Since these power-ups are useful for not only beating stages, but getting certain collectibles as well, they're obviously very important. The thing is though, they're really less helpful than you may think. Every single collectible that requires a power-up in this game has that power-up in the stage. So yeah, to me, these badges are really only good for changing a Super Mushroom into the power-up, which is a great use, but I can't say they're the best badges in the game or anything. Oh, and I guess it's also good for these random power-up blocks in case you're too lazy to time your jump. It's also worth noting that taking these into a stage that requires a different power-up for a collectible would lock you out of it, so just keep that in mind. Now, I've just talked about what these 4 share with each other, but what about their order and ranking? Well, I guess that'd be determined by my power-up ranking, which I didn't plan on making a video on since there are so few in this game, so I guess that could be a little bonus for this video. 8. All Drill Power. My least favorite of the 4 is the Drill Mushroom. It lets you dig into the floor and ceiling to avoid enemies and even gain access to hidden areas. While it's definitely great for the levels designed around it, everywhere else is a bit outmatched by the rest of the power-ups. It can't attack in front of it like the other 3, which I think is pretty good. Still a good power-up, just definitely my least favorite. The next 3 power-ups were all extremely close, but I think I'm going to give the next spot to 7, All Firepower. Obviously the Fire Flower is great offensively, perfect for dealing with enemies both up close and far away. The other 2 are just a bit more useful when it comes to getting the game's collectibles though, which I think gives them a boost. 6. All Bubble Power. Of course the Bubble Flower lets you shoot out bubbles instead of fireballs. While they do move much slower, they also have a bit more uses as you can use them as platforms that can even go through walls to activate certain things. One other fun thing you can do with the Bubble Flower, by the way, is shoot one, spin jump onto it, and hold right, which will let you basically make a staircase up through the level. This can be helpful to reach high up areas, and honestly just feels good to do as well. 5. All Elephant Flower. I just think it's the most useful for getting the game's collectibles. Not only can it attack things with its trunk, but that trunk also is able to break and activate blocks. It's also able to hold water and spray it out, which is used for quite a few puzzles in the game. So yeah, there's my mini power ranking inside my badge ranking. 4. Timed High Jump. This will let you jump higher if you jump after another jump. This is sort of like the Spring Feed badge if it didn't force you to jump constantly. This extra height not only makes it easier to make larger jumps, but is also of course nice to collect things as well. One other neat detail about it that is specifically mentioned in its description is the fact that it can even work on sand, making many of the levels in the desert much easier. What I really think puts this so high though just comes down to how easy it is to use. When I first got this, I thought it would work like the triple jump in previous Mario games, but no, you can just jump in place and it works perfectly. No difficult timing required. I certainly used this in quite a few stages. While the boosted jump height isn't insane or anything, it's definitely noticeable enough to place a high on the list. 3. Dolphin Kick. This makes you swim much faster underwater by pressing the twirl button. That makes this badge basically essential for any water level in the game, and there are quite a few. Sure, this is completely useless outside of water levels, which is what stops this from being higher, but the fact that it's unquestionably the best badge in a solid chunk of the game's levels makes it pretty fair to place it at number 3. If nothing else, it also makes underwater levels actually a decent bit of fun. In previous 2D Mario games, underwater levels suck.
I've never actually seen this
but the
before.
Dolphin Kick makes them so much more enjoyable to swim through. The badge challenges relating to the Dolphin Kick were also extremely fun. Overall, I think this is definitely one of the best badges. 2. Parachute Cap. For being the first badge you get in the game, it's an extremely good choice.